I was just doing the wafer paper with a different color, and I'm going to show how to do this flower, or this kind of an effect on the wafer paper so that it looks kind of irregular, and the different colors have a different type of striation on them, or however you want to call it. It's kind of a watercolory effect, but there is a stronger color on the edges of the petals. Now there's a cake decorator in Italy, and I want to say her first name is Lucia, but I could be completely wrong. I should have looked that up, obviously, before I started, but I didn't. But she does a lot of flowers like this, and people have started sending me requests, oh, can you do something like that? And I'm like, yeah, all right, so I had to figure out how to do it. She might do this a completely different way. I don't know. There are many ways to do things. So I'm starting, this is light blue, but it is only light blue because I was dipping this food coloring into it. It can be white. I'm just starting with some vodka. Vodka evaporates really quick. You don't want to get too much on your brush, but you just want to put enough on this piece of wafer paper so that the matching piece of wafer paper will stick to it when you fold it in half, because you want to have a double thickness to work with for this. Now this is going to be the centerpiece of the flower, so I just cut it out like that, and I'm going to roll it up. And by rolling it up when it has these little petally kind of shapes on it, it'll give you this little kind of irregular center shape. And there you can see there's like a little bump there. You can do this just with individual petals if you want. This is just faster, and it's such a free-form kind of artistic looking flower, it's not really necessary to do it in a very fancy structured way. All right. Usually what I would recommend is that you let the double thicknesses dry before you start working on it with the vodka and the food coloring, just to give it a chance, because it's going to have a lot of water in it, or the vodka is going to make it very moist, and it's going to, I know that's a terrible word, it makes it flimsy and melts it a little bit, but it is kind of soft, and you don't want it to get too wet, because then it's just going to dissolve and it's going to be hard to work with. But I'm going to go ahead and paint this on here just a little bit to get it ready to roll up. All right, I'm going to start rolling this. And you do not have to be precise about this. I'm going to kind of crinkle the base here to get the petals. Now see, that one ripped already. Big deal, you can cut it off. I'm just going to put the petals where I want them to be as I'm rolling it. So I want that one to be there. I'm going to move this one that way a little bit, roll it around there. And I do want to keep this kind of like a little nub, kind of a stem kind of thing at the base of it, because I figured out that's a good way to attach the petals. One thing I've noticed with wafer paper flowers, when you're using piping gel or corn syrup or gum glue to stick the petals on, what happens when the gum glue or whatever you're using dries, it contracts, and it will make your flower kind of fold in on itself at the base where the glue is stuck. So a lot of times I have to go back and add extra petals to the other parts of the flower, but you know, by doing it this way with the different way I'm going to show you to add the petals, it might avoid that, I'm not sure. But sometimes you just have to let the flower dry, and then you can see what it's doing and work from there. All right, so now I've got the outside, or this is the inside of the flower. And what I'm going to do, you know how you get something wet and you put a thick line of paint on it and the paint absorbs into the wet part? That's what you're going to do. So I don't want to get too much on here, because I don't want it to dissolve and collapse, but I'm going to put the paint brush right along the top edge of all these little petals. You could do this before you rolled it up. I like to do it while it's on there so you can see what is actually where the color's going. I need some more color. I'm using airbrush color. This is Americolor Sky Blue, if anyone is really that interested in it. Airbrush color is formulated to spray through the airbrush, and it works like a paint, better than a gel color mixed in a vodka would. All right, so now I've got this edge is damp, so when you paint along the very edge on here, it's going to start absorbing the color into the paper. Can you see that? I will put it closer. And it's just a little bit, and you can take your finger and kind of help it along. Oh, I see, this is where I folded it. So I can do that. But it's just going to absorb a little bit. Maybe it'll do it over here. Oops. And if you paint a big line, no big deal. Because like we said, this is a free-form situation. And I'm going to show you a different way to do it on the petals too. There are a few different ways to apply the color. I'm going to move back over here. So there are a few different ways to apply the color. I'll do a few different ways on the petals. And once you put the color on there, you can see if it's absorbing the way you want to. Take some more vodka and go back in. Just kind of smear it out a little bit. And yeah, this is up to you how you want to do it. There are no rules on this because it's just a painty thing. All right, so as I'm looking at this, I want to put a little more color along here to emphasize that edge, and a little more on here. Because where you see the color, you can see the individual petals. I like that. So, all right. Okay, so there's my center. And then you're going to attach the petals around this little stub of a base. And I've really been pinching it, so you can either leave it like that, which is fine, or kind of pinch it so that it's more of a round kind of stem. But either way, it's fine. And let's get along to the petals. Now, I've done the same thing with the petals here, and it's a 2 thickness piece of wafer paper, and the smooth side is out on both, so that the rough side of the paper is on the inside. I put just a little bit of vodka and attached them together. I was cutting them and then making them cupped, but I decided not to do that when I realized that it's easier to attach them to this when you don't have that done. So now you're going to take the vodka. I'm putting it on a little heavier here. You don't want to really douse this, but you want to get it wet. Same thing here, you're just going to put this on the edge and just watch it run into the paper. Look at that. And the wetter this is, the more it's going to run, but it's also going to make it really soft. So you don't want to melt the paper. You can go in and kind of drip some more vodka on here. Depending if you want a really blue petal, you can bring it down a little bit. But this is all going to be kind of curled up in the flower. You're not going to see the whole petal individually, so it's all right to leave it just kind of impressionistic like that. And I'm going to go on to the next one. Now I was just putting it around the edge of the petal and then bringing it down with a paintbrush, so I'll do that on this one. You can see the difference in how it looks. Okay, just put this along the edge. Wow, that's really, see how that just soaks in there? That's pretty cool. Okay, and then you can take your finger and kind of smear it. Like I said, people use gloves. I don't do that. I just wash my hands later. All right, so there's another one. And now you see the edge on the first petal is starting to curl, and that's what you want it to do. You want it to be irregular, and you want it to curl up on itself. So just dry that flat. Same thing with this. If you put too much on there, it's going to curl up and grab itself and then kind of fold in, and you won't be able to see the color at all. So don't put too much on. But you can feel when you're feeling this, if, like this section here is still stiff, because I didn't put very much vodka on it. So I'm going to just put a little more on that one part, and then you'll be able to curl it down. So curl those as you prefer. They should all be very irregular, and let them dry flat. All right, I'll do one more. All right, for this one I'm going to paint kind of the edge. I'm putting it on really thick on this one, so we'll see if it really curls up. And this is the fastest way that I found to do these. You can do these with individual pieces of wafer paper if you want to just do a single thickness, but it is a lot more fragile because, oh, see how wet that is? It's making it flop. So you have to be careful how much you're putting on, but it's okay. I'm going to make this one darker. You don't want it to flop on itself. And just dab this off if it's a little too much, which I think that it probably is. Okay, and you can put these on a silicone mat or something to dry. I was using the edge of my Crisco container because it's plastic. And you want to put these petals down and let them dry. And see how it'll still move. It's going to curl up. I can make this one curl up. It's going to curl up a little bit while it's drying, but it's going to move around as the vodka evaporates. And you see how this is the first one, and the petal has really curled inward, and that's because it's going to like move. Like I said, the vodka is going to evaporate pretty quickly, and you'll be able to put this on the flower relatively quickly. You want to let these dry really before you put them on, but I'm not going to do that because I'm going to show you how to put it on the center. All right, take your scissors and cut the petal like you would if you were going to cup it like this to give it a curve, but you're not going to do that. Take the vodka and put it on either side of the little cut. Then you're going to take the center and just attach the flower petal to the center by sliding that cut right onto the bottom of the flower. And you just want to press this long enough that the petal grips onto the flower, and then it's fine. It'll dry and it'll attach. If you cup it first and then try to attach it, it's going to not really fit very well. And that's what I was doing before, so I realized that if I cut it again and then did it that way, it's going to work. And they would stay on the way that I wanted them to. So, like I said, usually you want to let these dry, because these are pretty wet. But I'll do this one again. So you cut it open, put some vodka on either side of the cut, and then this is going to slide right onto the base of the flower. So right onto the base, just take that, you can open it up. And you just want to press it right on there and hold it until it seems like it's going to stay. And for this one, you can see, if you really look down there, you can see that I cut it pretty wide open, so there's an open space, but that's okay because you can put more flowers or more petals in behind it and cover that up and no one's going to notice. So there you go. This is really wet at this point, so if you want to do a little bit and then let this dry in between, you can do that. I don't find it necessary to do that because if this is wet, then the next one is going to stick to it better, so you can just go ahead and do the third one. But this third petal is the limp one. It's very sad. So this one I would let dry, until it was firm, and then stick it on there. But look, it's flopping on itself. Yeah, so yeah, I'm not going to do that one. But that's basically how you do it. You just cut the petal open and slide it right around the base. And when you're done, you have... Well, because of my terrible camera skills, and also I just didn't know where the camera was aiming, I know that a lot of you couldn't see the part where I was attaching the petals. So I wanted to show you the back of the flower. This is the one that I said was open too far, and you can see there. Hello. But, once you put the other petals there, or you could just slide this down closer to the base of the little flower. And here's the one. Here's the one that I did before. And I did say about the wafer paper folding in on itself, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. When it dries, it tends to curl in. And if you use some kind of a gum glue or a piping gel or something, it will do the same thing. And you might have to just go back and adjust it, which would mean like maybe getting this wet and opening this up a little bit and propping it open while it dries. Or just, it's still a little bit damp, so I can probably kind of bend it a little bit. But just keep an eye on your flowers while they're drying, because they will curl up and you won't be able to see it. Or you could just come back and put some more blue right here, and that will make it it'll have the color on both sides, so you don't have to worry about it curling up. But as you can see on the back here, the petals are just kind of wrapped. Like I cut this one open here, and half of it is there and half of it is here. So that's just how they attach. It's very simple. You don't have to worry about cupping them or anything. Just glue them on there, and that's it. So I'm going to add this to the very end of the video, and I apologize for that. But sometimes I just don't know where the camera is pointing while I am working and I move around too much. Okay.